Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Wednesday the 19th of February 2020. And yesterday we published our video entitled Why Gold Hit $1,600 and Silver $18 Today. And we put links to this in the description box below. In this video we pointed out that at then 17:15 GMT, gold stood at $1,602 and silver at $18.18, mainly the cause of Apple announcing that as the result of the coronavirus, it would miss its sales target for the quarter, especially as there have been manufacturing delays and closed retail stores in China. This has therefore continued throughout the markets, fearing that they have perhaps underestimated the impact of the coronavirus. And we saw equity markets fall yesterday and gold and silver prices rise. While today there has been some follow-through in that gold has reached as high as $1,611 and silver $1,839, though both have fallen back a little. Major US equity markets have risen, recovering yesterday's losses and gaining a little more. And the dollar index is less than half a point off 100, and yet gold and silver are still strong. We have therefore thought it appropriate to get an update from controversially Gregg as to where we are in relation to the coronavirus and his thoughts now on its longevity, and whether he thinks from an impact perspective whether gold and silver have further to rise, at least short term. Let's listen to the discussion. And we've placed this same discussion on our Richard and Gregg YouTube channel as well. Good afternoon, Gregg. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm fed up with fighting with British telecoms because my internet connection is such rubbish.
Well, you could always move.
Thank you very much. Quite like my house.
Well, Gregg, yesterday I noticed a number of financial reports highlighting the fact that we have seen stock markets go down yesterday. The price of gold and silver rose and has done so again this morning. And it's actually primarily, not in totality, but primarily been blamed on the market now recognizing that the coronavirus might be more damaging to the world economy than first thought. Now, having said that, I'm not totally convinced that it's only now equity analysts and fund managers have realized it's a pretty poor state of affairs, because we're both aware that there has been nothing but coronavirus covered on the news since the initial outbreak. But having said that, that's one of the key reasons they've given, and I've noticed that certainly funds have started moving into gold and silver again for the fear factor. So let's have an update. Where are we with coronavirus? Is it getting worse? And should we be as alarmed today as we thought we might be or might have been a few weeks ago?
Let's deal with the purely financial first of all. Don't forget that these fund managers and assorted professional gamblers are, in the main, just like any gamblers. They sit with their tunnel vision, peering at the numbers in front of them and not absorbing much of what goes on outside of their bubble. And I don't think they had a clue what was going to happen with coronavirus, despite the fact that we were notifying members right from day one that this was going to have some colossal effects. You cannot move a country like China with one of the world's, if they're not one of the world's biggest, they're one of the world's hugest economies. An economy which affects almost every other country on the planet. You cannot put entire provinces the size of West Germany under lockdown and realistically expect not to have incredible repercussions. We're now in a situation where, as we warned on this channel and other areas amongst our members, the virus is developing. We're now up to 75,306 people with the virus. We have 12,056, that's 21% of them who have critical condition of the virus. And we have just topped 2,000 deaths in the last few hours. We're now up to 2,012. Now, everybody can remember the SARS virus of 2003. That only killed 774 people. Or the MERS virus of 2012, which killed 858. Now, I don't happen to know the figure for the MERS virus, but the cost to the world economy of the SARS virus, with a mere 774 deaths, was estimated to be in excess of $40 billion. And that was in 2003. Well, that's probably somewhere around $55 billion as at today's value on currency. So we're now thinking in terms of $55 billion for 774 deaths and finite. We are now in a position of 2,000 plus deaths and not finite. So it's realistically to think that we're already up to figures in the region of around 115 billion hit to the world economy. We're not going to have accurate figures on this for possibly 5 or 10 years after this event is over, but it's got to be in that region already. And of course, it isn't over yet. So expect far more of a roller coaster ride coming up, particularly now that the introspected introverts sitting at their banks of computers looking at figures will have shown that it's only just dawned on them there might be an economic effect to locking down China. We're talking here of cancelling the Grand Prix in China. It's already been done, and that's 2 months away. There is discussion because Japan is now up to, let me look, I don't carry the figures in my head, but Japan is up to 705 cases of the virus. They're talking about will they have to cancel the Olympic Games. The consequences are going to be massive, even if it stopped as at today.
Well, Gregg, even at today's figures, you're looking at about 0.1 to 0.15% of global GDP. Global GDP is around $85 trillion. So if these figures ever get to 850 billion, then that will be 1% knocked off global GDP, which is enormous. And any percentage below that accordingly. But 0.1% is not to be ignored. How do you see it panning out in the sense that I have seen reports saying the number of new cases has reduced in China? Can you explain how that works?
Firstly, I don't think they're all being reported. Secondly, I think that a lot of people are in rural areas in China, and it's probably only the cities that can provide a medical facility for the people. Don't forget, China is a country where an estimated 2 million Muslims are currently held in what is effectively a prison, and nobody seems to have noticed. I think that they're playing down the figures. I think that they probably have a considerable number of additional cases, and it would come as no surprise to me whatsoever to suddenly find, because somebody's tripped over the details, that they have had to add several hundred to the tally of deaths, people who have died at home that they don't even know about. Don't forget, China is very rural and very poor and very isolated in many areas. It is not a cosmopolitan modern world right across China.
Interestingly, I mentioned that yesterday there were reports essentially that because of the coronavirus, equity markets fell. One of the main causes of that was that Apple made an announcement that it would not meet its quarterly sales figures. And something like, I'm going by memory, 17% of their sales are actually made in China. So clearly it comes as no shock that they're not going to meet their quarterly sales figures. And Apple, as you know, is one of the major constituents of the main equity bourses. So significant on the main stock exchanges, which we all know really are influenced by little more than a handful of major, or huge, to use your term, stocks.
Indeed. But also, let's take this to a more believable level, because trillions don't mean a damn thing to 99% of people. And when it comes to borrowing and politicians, it doesn't mean anything because it's our money, not theirs. So using sums like trillions, people have no idea what a trillion is in real terms. They've got very little understanding of what a billion is. Start counting and see how long it takes you to get to 1 million. These are big numbers. They are so big that nobody has the ability to repay the level of national debt in any modern country. There just isn't a way of repaying it other than just print money willy-nilly. So let's shrink back from those billions and trillions, and anyone living anywhere near Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, London, pop into Chinatown in your local major conurbation. It's dead, stone dead. The restaurants are empty, the shops are empty, the bustling crowds are missing. The public has got the message. It's only now that the bankers and all these clever fat cats are waking up to somebody is wobbling their roulette wheel.
Bearing in mind that I originally started off by saying that the number of reported deaths or infections, has started to decline. And you quite rightly say, well, we don't know if that's true because countries lie and also may not have gathered all of the data as yet. Is it still your opinion that this could go on for a considerable period of time? Or do you think what has been done in many of the major countries throughout the world seems to be working in terms of containment?
I think we're getting a little bit of a false sense of security because one day China is going to have to unlock these provinces. With 74,000 current cases in China, when they unlock, there are bound to be residual pockets where they haven't noticed that those big numbers are continuing. Don't forget Japan, who have probably come up with the most successful euphemism of all time when they said, we have negative growth. What is negative growth? All the trees growing upside down into the ground? They are sitting there with a known 705 cases of COVID-19. They've only had one death so far. We're very fortunate that this isn't a very high death rate for people who catch it. But we get flu virus literally every year around the planet. It kills people and it dies out. But there is no doubt that the normal flu viruses are less contagious, less pernicious, and less fatal than this is. So we are already looking at potentials of tens of thousands of deaths. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying we need to be aware that it may well happen. You're also going to find that because there is no vaccine that will touch this virus, and there is unlikely to be one devised for at least 18 months, that they could roll out successfully, it means that pockets of the virus will continue. We may find that it diminishes dramatically through summer months, but bear in mind that it's already very much out there and happening in countries where it is summer now. So I don't think we can count on that. But that means that when the flu viruses of norm are burgeoning again as the winter weather comes back in the Western world, there is every possibility that this particular virus will spring up again. Just because it appears to have gone away for a while doesn't mean it's gone. It just means it's lying low. Ask anybody who suffers from cold sores or any of the other herpes viruses. They get rid of a cold sore and they think, whoopee, I've cured it. But no, it comes back because the virus is in their body and there is no cure for the herpes virus.
Well, Gregg, putting you on the spot for future predictions, gold in sterling terms, because as you know, I follow gold and silver as a barometer from the investment markets, actually reached its all-time high in sterling terms back on the 3rd of September. And it was £1,278 an ounce. It's currently, as we speak, £1,235 an ounce. So there's, if you like, £43 difference. And since September, sterling has strengthened against the US dollar, which means essentially that we're now seeing a strength of value not linked to a weakness in the US dollar, or rather a weakness, in sterling against the dollar. In other words, it's genuine investment now, not currency manipulation.
We're realistically looking, Richard, at it's back to its all-time high in real cost.
Yes. So my question is there enough mileage in this infection for us to surpass that high, even that high, another £43?
I don't think there's any doubt. I don't think you need another single case, and it will still go past that figure on the basis of, as people look around, you've got to look at what are exports from China at the moment. Running as they were? I don't think so. What is ordering from the Western world, from China at the moment? I would say it's pretty slim. I think you've got, if it was declared history as at today with a cast iron guarantee that there wouldn't be another case, I think you've got damage that will continue to rumble on probably for a year. And that's if it is guaranteed finished. And ain't nobody going to be making that guarantee. That I think I can promise you.
Well, interestingly, in dollar terms, we are in the recent highs. We are just $5 away with the current gold price of 1,604. And the last high was as high as 1,609. So we're $5 away. And then you have to go back to 2013 when it was last at that level. So in that case, we're already virtually there in dollar terms, and we're not far away in sterling terms. But in sterling terms, it'd be the all-time high. Of course, we know that the all-time high for the price of gold in dollar terms is 1,900. So a little concerning, certainly.
Not if you've got a lot of gold.
Absolutely.
And that, of course, is a commodity that China has a great deal of.
And they might need to use it yet.
They may well indeed be forced to dump gold to fund their current economic problems. But I doubt it, because it is a communist stroke socialist country that will take it out of the skin of the backs of its people before they will take it out of their piggy bank.
And the old saying is, whatever gold goes into China never comes back out. So you could indeed be right. Gregg, thank you for the update.
My pleasure. There will be more.
Indeed, I have no doubt. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you're notified of videos as and when they are published. We've also placed links below to our 2 YouTube channels, the one entitled Richard and Gregg, Discussion, Debate and Argument, and the other Trump for President 2020. And we've also included below what we regard as perhaps useful books and products in relation to gold and silver and coronavirus protection equipment. Thank you once again. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.